Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rome, and also welcome to the first ever Global Conference on Sustainable Livestock Transformation. I'm Tin Le Nguyen.
And I'm Chris Burns, and we'll be moderating with you for the next 3 days. And both of us have been journalists on the ground around the world covering development and agriculture issues. That's why it's fascinating for us to be here today, to be talking with government officials, policymakers, think tankers, researchers, farmers, civil society, private sector, to get you all together so we put our heads together and think about how we can make a more sustainable transformation and a faster transformation.
Absolutely,
right?
Chris. And I think particularly when you talk about farmers, I think it's really worth emphasizing. Sometimes these kind of conversations happen without the food producers involved. This time, we have all the producers' organizations with us here. And over the next 3 days, the discussions that are going to be happening will be conducted around the 4 betters theme, which the FAO Director General has been promoting and is part of the FAO strategic framework. What do I mean by the 4 betters?
Better production.
Better nutrition.
Yep. Better environment.
And better life.
That's
and in
right.
this case, for livestock producers.
And before we get to that, very quickly, we want to go through a couple of housekeeping, I like to call tech tips. And first of all, of course, turn off the sound on any of your electronic devices, please. And we're in 6 UN languages. And thank you so much to the interpreters up there. We'll keep you in mind because we would like not to speak too fast.
Yes.
So they can make the translations more accurately.
We have special requests to all the high-level speakers who are going to be on the high-level panel 1 and 2 this morning. If you have yet to send your talking points to the organizers, please do so now at livestock-conference@fao.org, because then we can pass those talking points to the interpreters and we can make sure that the translation is as accurate as possible.
And this session for the 3 days is being webcast. We are webcasting this. Hello to everybody who's connected around the world. We are webcasting this. It will be recorded for viewing afterwards if you miss any of it. And probably the most important tech tip is there's coffee between 10 and 11 in the plenary hall just outside.
Now, another very important information, on the conference website itself, you'll find a document with very practical information around the FAO, like what are the catering facilities, where can you get your lunch, very important, what's the Wi-Fi password, and of course, where are the banking facilities.
Okay, and I always like to repeat this during the sessions is the hashtag. So you can stay engaged on the social networks. If you hear a good soundbite, you hear a good comment, you want to make a comment, send it out with a hashtag Sustainable Livestock. Hashtag Sustainable Livestock.
Now, without much further ado, let us invite Dr. Chu Dong-yu, Director General of the FAO, for his opening remarks. Dr. Chu.
A round of applause for Mr. Chu.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Rome. This is the first ever global conference on sustainable livestock transformation. Marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts and action to address the challenges and opportunities in the livestock sector and the global agri-food systems. Also, that's my first international conference after second term held in headquarters. That marks historical meanings. Years, a lot of people, millions of years, even from a very primitive society, human beings we face. We started hunting, right? What is hunting? Hunting animals. to get the animal proteins. And then we started the domestication of the animals. That's we developed the modern livestock sectors. There is a Chinese proverb said that 端起饭碗吃肉，放下筷子骂娘。I don't know they can translate, but I can translate for you. When you picked up the bowl with meat and rice and enjoy. And when they put your bowl, rice bowl, down your table, and you start to complain. Why? Because there are so many people always complain the animal products and so on and so forth. But we, FAO, with the members, we have to fix problems. Not only animal production, and other products, crops, and fishery, aquaculture, and also even soil problems, water problems. That's why we established FAO 80 years ago by that time President Roosevelt, together with the founding members. So not only complain doesn't work, doesn't solve the problem. We need a solution. We need action. That's the first conference I designed 2 years ago with my colleagues. And now it's the right time, it's in the right way to start a campaign and how to important of the animal protein production, not only livestock. I said animal protein production, including aquaculture and other animal productions. Because some countries have a different definition along the livestock. But we should appreciate all the people who produce the animal protein for us. And then we work together how to improve all the challenges, problems related to the sector, and also others, holistic way, professional way, and in a coherent way. That's a clear message I want to start to send to you today. We are here to address the pressing challenges, how to make the livestock sector more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable. Well, to provide improved social, in fact, better nutrition benefits and more economic returns with greater equity and less environmental impact. Livestock production is a vital part of our agri-food systems, providing essential nutrients for all, and enhance the livelihood and economic opportunity for billions of people around the world. It's part of our modern life if we want to have a consistent supply of the animal nutrients. Yeah? Because what is the big difference between developing nation and a developed nation? When I was a kid, told that in developed nation you can have daily feeding with animal protein. I started with a milk, a cup of milk. But I still didn't have a chance to drink milk because when I was a kid, I didn't have a chance. And still I had a problem if I drink milk. So I think billions of people in the developing countries still have no accessible high quality of animal product, especially milk. That's a milk products for the kids and the 5 years old, so important, yeah, for the early stage of development. As a biologist, I fully recognize. That's why we are willing to cooperate with other agencies to improve the nutrition level. Start with a cup of milk daily. That's still a big problem for the developed nations. Yeah? People in the city, even in some developed countries, still not every day have a cup of milk. Yeah? Because a lot of countries from Latin America, you enjoy the meat and the milk, yeah? Because you have so much land to grow or to natural grazing of your animals. But look, the other parts of the world, Near East, Asia, even some parts of Europe, still suffering from the shortage of natural resources producing enough animal products. First, like my friend from Indonesia, minister here, Limpo, he knows, and first produce staple food, yeah, and rice. Rice is staple food. And about 300 million population is a limited land. So you have to look at the basic things first. And not like another friend from Uruguay. You have only, 1 million, less than 1 million, 1.2 million people. Yeah? You have a vast land. You produce enough animal meat. You can export. You try to find, that's problem for you, to find the stable market for your exportation. That's why you made a historical trip to China. He stayed in China 19 days. In my memory, no any minister stay in one country for 19 days. So I just take these 2 ministers as a too extreme. Yeah, they're facing the livestock. So I think we have to talk and debate and find the compromise solutions based on your natural disaster. Science and innovation is the only solution, and the new business model only solution. And also new way of the deal the challenge based on your local condition is the only solution. However, the sector faces complex challenges such as environmental stress, biodiversity loss, and the impact of the climate crisis and others, and social economic challenges, not only from natural resources. Yeah, the purchase power are different because normally animal products are high and the cost. So that's why the people always say, you don't like to eat meat or drink milk? No, because affordability. Yeah, problems for the poor people. We normally use the money to buy the wheat, the bread, and the rice, and some basic things first. The latest FAO OECD Agriculture Outlook highlights the expected rapid expansion and intensification of livestock production in low and middle-income countries, resulting in a fast-growing demand for feed of the next decade. So I asked my colleague as a director of the animal division and tell our audience, we will organize the next meeting. Please take notes. Global Feed, Animal Feed Conference. Feed is industry production feed, not only the household managers. You use the leftover, your food waste for the animal feed. When I was a kid, my grandma always used the leftover things from the tables for animal feed. But now, if we want to develop a modern, intensive, and environment-friendly industry, you need the feed industry first. Otherwise, you can't have any. Based on the experience from Asia and Thailand and others, I think we can learn from that. Even in Latin America, you still don't have an animal feed industry. That's why you face the big challenge to conflict between the natural resource management and livestock production. Increasement, it depends on natural grazing. It's dangerous, in my opinion. And it's a limited capacity to produce enough animals on the grassland. You need to combine the natural grassland feeding, grazing, and also industry feed. That's more, recycling use of the plants, even different plants which were feed for the animal feed. So in Sub-Saharan North Africa, as well as Near East, livestock is expected to increase by more than 20%, mostly due to the expansion of the dairy and poultry meat sector. Basically, because of the livelihood are improving. That urbanization, industrialization, more and more people live in the city. And then they needed more sustainable, consistent supply with a high quality of products, especially animal products. FAO is providing technical support to the members, strengthening the contribution of the livestock sector towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Our work on the sustainable livestock production system is at the core of the FAO Strategic Framework 2022 to 31 to support the 4 betters: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind. FAO, like any Minister of Agriculture, Food, or Rural Affairs, if we don't focus on better production, I think somehow what is our basic mandate. So yes, FAO hesitant to organize any conference related to production, especially better production. So you can see, first time, I'm happy to see, next 2 days you will see another global conference on the agricultural mechanization or equipment. First time I checked the history in the FAO, you have so many trucks, big or small, in FAO buildings, or front of buildings. That's the real meaning of FAO. Not only animal production, and also crop production. We need a machine, we need the equipment. No, that's why we are so many young people escaped from countryside. We know, because countryside life is so harsh because we manage everything activities by hand. Not like America, you started about 100 years ago, started mechanization. But that's the future for other developed countries, especially smallholder farmers in Latin America and more in Africa. And also Central Asia, because they have a big potential unless you have it equipped with a proper mechanization. So that's 2 meetings. I really appreciate all of my colleagues implement my proposal at the right time, because it's so important. It's a historical turning point to refocusing, reprioritize what is the real FAO mandate about. The global conference will assess how livestock sector contributed to the food security and nutrition, integrating the latest science findings with time-tested local knowledge as a new business model. Not only technology, and a new business model, because we can learn from each other, big or small, yeah? Because even in Africa, you have a big chance in visit Sudan, the 1st of August this year, together with Senator McCain and the IFA, the president. Even South Sudan, they have a big potential for livestock, they traditionally, and even they have a special indicator how to measure the importance of livestock there. Yeah, if you wanted to curious to know, you ask the friend from Sudan or Africa, by ADG from Africa, he can brief you. Yeah. And also, they have a big potential to develop rice production in South Sudan. If they develop 1 million hectares of rice production in South Sudan, they can benefit to support all the steppe food in East Horn Africa. 1 million hectares. So it's a good opportunity for machinery, sizable farmers from United States, from Europe, or from Asia, if we're willing to invest in South Sudan. And others. I just take the newest, fresh experience with you. So, and also Indonesia, you can produce the rice in South Sudan and they shift back to Indonesia. Be honest, 10 years later you will see, you have to use your land more, economically beneficial or more profitable crops or fruits, rather than to grow the rice in Indonesia. You can export your expertise and new varieties produced in South Sudan. Because there the land is almost zero cost. So I think we have to build the real global sharing economy together, especially start with agricultural production. It will provide evidence-based data for the effective policymaker to increase the productivity through the innovation for the improved feeding, animal genetics, and the husbandry practices with special attention to animal health and welfare. And also whole value chain and the post-harvest treatment and the processing technology. I remember about 40 years ago, we had a cooperation with Italy. Italy is a small-sized food processing company with the equipment and the technology. They covered so many varieties. So you can learn from them. Maybe it's not modern for them, even 40, 30 years ago, but still I think it's proper to the other developers if we want the small scale food processing. It is a unique platform that brings together policymakers, researchers, farmers, pastoralists, and other partners to exchange ideas, share experience, discuss innovative solutions to current challenges, and identify concrete actions for increased sustainability and resilience in the livestock sectors and beyond, not only livestock sectors. Dear colleagues, By convening this conference, FAO is providing a neutral platform for all sectors across all the regions to highlight the valuable knowledge, ensure the equitable access to the latest information and innovation for all. So that's why through hand-in-hand initiative, we can offer your holistic design for your national pathways and the development strategies. And then we can invite the relevant expertise from our members to support you, to implement. And then also we offer the platform next month. Yeah? About 3 weeks from now on, we will have all the food forum. Because with your comprehensive investment plan, and you can come to here to promote freely, no charge, free of charge. I know the limit for the individual members, no matter big or small, it's difficult for you to attract the more international, the CEOs, private sectors, financials, investors. But we built this big platform for you to attract the relevant key partners to support you, to implement your investment plan and science innovation, and of course, youth, women, and indigenous people, environment, and others, because we established so many, more than 100 set events. So that's really the big platform for members. I said FAO is big, old, and large, and poor. Yeah? But people forgot FAO is the most authoritative platform for the members. We can use this platform and the benefit to all of you. No any other members can replace FAO. But FAO so many years didn't use our value-added platform, always compete our disadvantage with other comparable advantages. I hesitate to talk about the money in FAO because no matter you say the big or small, for me it's always small. I challenge my chief economist, you talk about billions, what means for the big country like China, like India, or even Brazil. Yeah? But billions, it's important for the small and medium members. But we can't offer the billions to them, even World Bank. Yeah? But if we can use as a platform, attract the billions, bilaterally, multilaterally, that's why we can change the business. That's a way we can help you. Yeah? By doing so, we need to produce more with less. We must focus on improving efficiency, through the optimizing feed conversions, reduce the feed loss and waste, and enhance nutrient utilization. We can reduce the pressure on the biodiversity and the land water resources, decrease the greenhouse gas emissions, and mitigate the environmental degradation. To accelerate sustainable livestock transformation and transform agro-system, we must embrace the principle One Health by integrating multidisciplinary expertise and perspective. One Health not only zoonotic disease, not only within the animal sectors. One Health from soil, water, up to the animal health. So that's why we started with the animal sector, and we should integrate all the relevant expertise in FAO first. And then we wanted to champion some members willing to take a One Health approach seriously, not only between Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Health. It's too narrow for me. Yeah? But if the members of FAO, especially Minister of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs, if we take the leading role, landing with your national design and pathway, we're willing to support you. Because we can invite the scientists from relevant sectors like soil, water, and plants, and also the animals, of course, and the residues control and the food loss and waste. So, and that's we will build One Health, real One Health. Because One Health started with animals, but it's not end up with animals. It's too narrow for me. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage my colleagues first, and work together with relevant divisions, and then we can support the members. Yeah, if after this conference, there's some 1 or 2 or 10 members willing to take the serious with One Health, I'm happy to say. Because after so many advocated by the European leaders, but I didn't see any members still take the One Health properly. They always talk about animal disease control. I said, no, it's too narrow. You can't build one house only control the animal disease or zoonotic disease. Yeah? We must mitigate the risk of zoonotic disease, of course, as well as AMR, by addressing the overuse and misuse of antimicrobial agents in both human medicine and animal production and health. That's already routine, traditional limited areas they advocate so many years, especially by my friend from Britain, I think about 20 years. But now they come to cross all the sectors, crop, animals, and fishing, agriculture. So our discussion must be guided by the principle of inclusivity, equity, and sustainability for all, with a focus on the involving small-scale farmers, pastoralists, indigenous communities, marginalized groups in the shaping sustainable livestock system that leaving no one behind. During this conference, we will also hear the voices of the youth through the youth dialogue to share the opportunities and solutions for empowering youth in the livestock sectors. I look forward to our discussion and to share our collective expertise, insights, and experience, and carry this recommendation forward to the FAO Committee on the Agricultural Sub-Committees on Livestock. And not only that, it's too small. Yeah? And I encourage my colleagues with the concrete action for different type of the members. Yeah, I said two extreme, Uruguay and Indonesia. So between them, there are so many different differentiation members. So if we define ourselves within 10 or 9 or 5, yeah, and then we can establish a leading model for transformation of livestock and agricultural system at large. So that's really meaning, and with a concrete action plan together with the members, if we are willing to. Yeah. Let us continue strengthening the momentum in the spirit of cooperation, innovation for a decade of action for sustainable livestock transformation and beyond. Together, we can build a more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future for the livestock sectors and for agricultural sectors, and for the social, economic, environmental coherences. We need the food, we need the clear water and the environment, and we need also sustainable supply of all the natural-based products. Sometimes agriculture we couldn't produce in the factory. A very small case, you can produce the lettuce in the green house, but it's very limited. Still, we depend on natural resources. That's the reality. So let's walk the talk and to benefit both people, prosperity, and planet together. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
谢谢 Dr. Chu for your remarks. I think it's really important, 2 points to emphasize: accelerating the transformation, but doing it in the spirit of collaboration, determination, and innovation. Now, we have a short little video that will explain a little bit more about the conference for today and over the next 2 days. Can we have the video, please? Thank you.
We face a global challenge. The way we produce and consume food today is unsustainable. But we can still change this. The world needs a holistic and sustainable approach to transform our agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life, leaving no one behind. And livestock plays an important role in achieving these aspirations. By making significant and positive changes to the livestock sector, we can ensure its long-term viability, ecological balance, and social responsibility. Sustainable livestock transformation looks at practices that can improve food security and nutrition and livelihoods of those involved in the sector, promote animal health and welfare, minimise negative environmental impacts, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The aim is to create an efficient, inclusive, resilient and environmentally conscious livestock sector that meets the needs of populations today and conserves resources for those who will come tomorrow. Effective and sustainable livestock transformation requires country and context-specific approaches that recognise the diversity of livestock systems across the world. Tailoring interventions to national and local needs, resources and knowledge is crucial to integrating sustainable practices within existing systems. To make a sustainable livestock transformation possible, we must build global, balanced and evidence-based narratives on sustainable livestock. Strengthen pathways to expand good practices that promote sustainability. Support policy development and responsible investment that align with sustainability goals. Integrate animal production, health and welfare following the One Health approach to foster the development of holistic and sustainable systems. And accelerate actions, innovations and partnerships that drive meaningful change more efficiently. Now is the time to engage in dialogues on innovation and pathways for more nutritious, safe and accessible animal source foods with a reduced environmental footprint. FAO's first Global Conference on Sustainable Livestock Transformation will serve as a neutral forum, bringing together stakeholders from across the world interested in building vibrant, resilient and diversified livestock systems. Together, we can unlock the full potential of livestock systems for a sustainable and food-secure world for all.
So how do we speed that up? And yes, great video. And as the Director General has said, how do we speed this up? How do we make this happen? That's what we want to talk about over the next 3 days. Let's hear a bit more, drill down a little bit more on the details with Jimmy Smith, Director of International Programs at the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the University of Maryland. He is also a Guyanese Canadian, a true world baby, who's been on the ground in many places. And he can tell us about that, about how to speed up that transformation. Jimmy, please.
Thank you, Moderator, Director General, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a real pleasure to have the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, FAO, for inviting me. This conference about sustainable livestock transformation comes at a time when, despite the vital contributions of livestock, the negatives, real or imagined, tend to overtake the sector. At this conference, then, we must develop solutions and the resolve to change the circumstances for livestock and the livelihoods of people who depend on them. Sustainable transformation are two words that have come into frequent use. Neither have been defined, and it's not my role to define them today. We know it when we see it. But FAO has offered the construct of the 4 betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better livelihoods. And better lives. And livelihoods for me. These 4 betters would guide us in the transformation that we seek. I know that many will be speaking about these 4 betters over the week, over the next 3 days, so I will be taking only a bird's eye view of them. But first, let me offer 4 caveats that I feel will help guide these four betters. First is the caveat of diversity. Although we speak of livestock, these are in fact many species and many commodities. The word livestock therefore masks the broad diversity, not only of species, but the ecologies in which livestock are produced. It is therefore the case that we will be speaking of many transformations, not just one. Our second caveat is that we must pursue these four betters with system thinking. We should get out of our silos because these four betters are not mutually exclusive. The trade-offs and synergies must be pursued in this system context. Livestock offer many ways to solve the problems we seek to do. I need help, my slide's not moving. Okay, right. The last caveat is that we must work at a faster rate. Our past discrete successes are not adding up to global livestock transformations. We must consider, therefore, what we need to do differently, prioritize, and communicate. So a few words on the transformations we seek in the context of the four betters. We know that the demand for animal source foods will increase very rapidly over the next few decades. 9.2 billion people by 2050, requiring 60% more food than we produce now. Much of this are livestock commodities. In order to do that, we must be sure that, for example, in the case of ruminants, we meet these demands without adding more ruminants to the planet. This could be one of the challenges we pursue at this conference. But better production provides many opportunities. There's no silver bullet to getting there. We must pursue new technologies and policies that are ecologically, economically, and socially sound. Rapidly increase the productivity of livestock, because doing so not only helps us to meet the demand, but also mitigate the emissions. I have been interested for a long time of climate-smart breeds and feeds. Could we imagine that among the vast diversity of genetic resources, we are able to find lower emission animals? And given modern technology in genetics and genomics, we'll be able to transmit these, introgress these traits into the population of animals over a short space of time. Such a discovery would be rather equivalent to what has happened in the automobile industry with electric cars, without, of course, the challenges of disposing of the batteries when they come to an end. We must reduce, as the Director General said, disease burdens, both endemic and pandemic diseases, prevent zoonoses, and we must prove the predictions about antimicrobial use wrong. The challenges, therefore, are urgent and important, but the solutions are within our grasp. And let me turn for a second for better nutrition. Animal source foods contribute 30 to 40% of the world's protein on a per capita basis. And most of it is produced from feed substrates that could not be used for anything else. The nutritional value of animal source foods, we know, go with the high bioavailability of these nutrients, dense as they are. Why then, given these great nutritional values of animal source foods, why do livestock get such a bad name? Well, many reasons, of course. We must simultaneously address this concern about obesity and overconsumption, even as we address the issue of underconsumption. We must realize that animal source foods come mostly, as most agricultural produce in developing countries, are sourced in local markets. We must make these markets safer so as to lower the disease burdens. I believe, as my colleagues have been advocating, that in doing so, we must get to a risk-based approach rather than a hazard-based approach to dealing with food safety. On the environment, there are many issues. Of course, these include the high carbon footprint associated with livestock, land degradation, pollution of water bodies, nutrient loading, among others. But the effect of climate cuts both ways: climate on livestock and livestock on climate. Time does not permit me to deal with the climate on livestock phenomena, but it's there. We must consider it. Here, I speak mostly about the effect of livestock on the climate. It is vitally important that we improve the productivity of livestock, particularly in the developing world. We must spread worldwide the regenerative practices that also increase the productivity of circular mixed farming systems that feed soils as well as people and animals. Curtail air and water pollution and nutrient loading generated by intensive production systems. And given the vastness of rangelands, more than 50% of the world's surface, a good part of which with livestock, we must use and restore the vast grazing lands through the use of low-cost participatory approaches so that these rangelands not only produce meat and milk, but sequester carbon, the potential of which, I am told, equal the capacity of forests. Better lives, of course, means many things. But over 1.7 billion people, lives depend directly or indirectly on livestock. In addition, of course, to the vast amount of food and nutrients that are produced. Can we imagine that we can improve both animal and human welfare for better lives? Use livestock in optimal ways to better lives everywhere and in the many different ways in which we can. Help families grow their livestock assets in ways that generate lasting multi-generational benefits and ensure that livestock value chains are inclusive and fair as well as efficient and profitable. We speak a lot about empowering women in the sector. They make up more than half of the capacity in the sector, but we do very little about it. Can we really make women's empowerment happen in the livestock sector? Can we bring youth employment? The Director General spoke about the drudgery of farming without mechanization in the rural areas. but livestock production is cool. Many sectors have a low barrier to entry, don't require a lot of capital, poultry and pigs, for example, and the turnover is very fast. I believe this sector is very attractive to youth, and youth employment can be derived more there. And we must, overall, create livable and habitable futures for the people involved in livestock. We must, although we seldom speak of it, the cultural values of livestock. They are an important heritage, and their cultural values are enormous. Let me move to the end of this, because the moderators have been warning me about how little time we have. So let me move to what I think we really need to do differently. We can conclude that it's immutable that livestock are very important to lives and the planet, and to all of us. There are many uses, there are many species, there are many systems, and many cultures use them. The possibilities are great, technological, policy, and other, to make the livestock sector more environmentally sustainable, socially and economically sustainable as well. But there are many challenges left. And those challenges are not just technological, but have to do with how we do livestock business. We must broaden our dialogue, connecting and delivering in ways we've not done before. Livestock people tend to speak to livestock people. The negatives of the livestock sector require a broader engagement. Engage more and more effectively with the non-livestock world is what I mean. Work across diverse livestock sectors, disciplines, in both the rich and poor countries, and reach consumers as well as producers, and address the cultural as well as socioeconomic issues. We must get outside of our comfort zone. It is a sector that is mostly neglected from an investment standpoint, notwithstanding the many negatives that accrue. It is going to be hard for us to get the attention, given all the other issues that the globe is dealing with. But we can if we communicate, and communicate differently and more broadly. So as I conclude these remarks, in the twilight of my livestock profession, my colleagues at the bank and at ILRI, where I've worked over the last 20 years or so, have come back over and over to three main communication angles. The first is the Miles Law. Where you stand on an issue depends on where you sit. It's very difficult to convince people in the cities in developing countries and developed ones about the circumstances of people on the steppes of Mongolia or the Sahel or places like that. More than 50% of the people live in cities, and they do not understand those circumstances. We must allow them to sit in the many places that livestock producers and consumers sit, so that they can understand the real circumstances. So where you stand depends on where you sit. Let's make people sit in many different places. The second theme we have pursued over time has to do with the concern about obesity and overconsumption. And the logic that if those who are over-consuming now because there is abundance, that would be the same fate to those who are in developing countries and eat too little. So what we must do is arrest consumption of livestock products and perhaps even get rid of the livestock sector. Well, to those people we have said, there is no equivalence between poor choice of foods and no choice of food. Those who consume too much, like where I've come from, can eat a little less. But there are many places in the world where we need to eat much more. The third avenue on our communication has to do perhaps mostly with the intellectuals who have tended to bend the truth, use broad generalizations that do not apply, and sometimes communicate plainly falsely. This has to do, of course, with the total emissions of livestock. Often used is the fact that the 15% that is often talked about is not direct emissions. It is in life cycle, but it's compared in the same way to transport, which is direct emissions. So these innuendos and falsehoods and so on have abided, and they have come to dominate the conversation. So we have borrowed from the late Senator of New York, Patrick Moynihan, who said, everyone is entitled to their opinions. No one is entitled to their own facts. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Jimmy Smith. Thank you very much. Jimmy Smith of the University of Maryland, and how we need to broaden that dialogue, which we're about to do right now.
Apologies. For the next segment, we are going to be having government ministers and officials from around the world who will be telling us what's the situation in their countries are, what policies are already in place, and what policies need to be implemented. So could we ask the high-level speakers from Indonesia, Uruguay, Somalia, and Australia to come on the stage, please?
Please. Yes, it's actually good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go there first, yeah.
No, you can. First, we have Mr. Syahrul Yassin Limpo, Minister for Agriculture for Indonesia, who has an urgent meeting to go, so we're going to start with you first. I know we have some really interesting lessons learned from your experiences dealing with avian influenza. So, sir, the floor is yours. 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Saya Menteri Pertanian dari Republik Indonesia yang diminta memberikan sedikit masukan dan presentasi terhadap Sustainable Livestock Transformation, best practice yang ada di Indonesia. Yang saya muliakan Direktur Jenderal FAO, my friend, my brother, Mr. Dr. Qui Dong Chu, selamat untuk kedua kalinya menjadi DJ, di mana harapan dan tumpuan kami pada FAO sangat besar pada Mr. Qui Dong Chu. Para Menteri Pertanian dan Kepala Organisasi Internasional yang sempat hadir dalam forum yang terhormat ini, hadirin yang sama saya muliakan. Hamdan wa syukran lillah, wala haula wala quwata illa billah. Saya kira pertemuan kita pada hari ini adalah pertemuan yang sangat penting, sangat strategis, dan sangat dibutuhkan oleh dunia dan negara kita masing-masing. Pertemuan ini tidak hanya saja menyangkut hal-hal yang strategis dan dasar, tapi menurut pikiran saya bahwa pertemuan ini adalah pertemuan menjawab kegelisahan dunia. Menjawab kegelisahan dunia terhadap berbagai tantangan-tantangan ketahanan pangan yang ada di dunia, bahkan krisis pangan yang mengancam semua negara yang ada di dunia. Oleh karena itu, apa yang kita bicarakan, Mr. DG FAO, saya kira forum ini sangat terhormat. Forum ini bahkan ditunggu rekomendasi-rekomendasi akhirnya untuk kami bawa pulang ke negara masing-masing. Kenapa? Dunia lagi tidak baik-baik saja. Seluruh kita di dunia merasakan bagaimana tantangan global yang ada, yang harus kita hadapi hari ini, besok, dan masa depan. Khususnya yang berkait dengan masalah pertanian dan ketahanan pangan. Ini bersoal. Kemudian kita masuk pada tantangan-tantangan humanis yang bersifat universal. Kalau makanan, pangan tidak tersedia, semua menjadi tidak stabil. Pemerintahan tidak stabil, faktor-faktor sosial akan muncul, masalah keamanan seperti itu, bahkan masalah politik akan terjadi. Oleh karena itu, forum ini sangat penting artinya bagi kepentingan global dan kawasan yang ada. Maaf, saya tidak masuk di teknis lagi karena Mr. DG sangat lengkap menyuraikan. The presentasi Mr. Jimmy Smith is perfecting. Saya kira kita tinggal jadikan rekomendasi-rekomendasi apa. Agenda apa yang harus keluar dari pertemuan-pertemuan global yang ada ini. Jangan lupa, ada yang berubah secara global. Ada yang berubah secara universal, ada yang berubah secara kawasan, ada yang berubah secara nasional. Seakan-akan paradigma baru tentang pangan, pengendalian pangan membutuhkan paradigma baru. Kalau kita tidak ketemukan paradigma yang cocok untuk kepentingan global ini, maka ketegangan geopolitik akan terjadi di mana-mana. Saudara-saudara sekalian, maaf kalau saya sedikit masuk tidak lagi kepada teknis livestock dan sustainable livestock itu, karena ini menjadi sesuatu kebutuhan. Oleh karena itu, karena ini sangat terbatas waktunya, saya pikir task force dari FAO harus kita munculkan dari rekomendasi pertemuan ini. Yang kedua, program atau target konsepsinya harus ada. Target kita kemana? Tadi Mr. DG udah nyampaikan bagaimana Indonesia harus kerjasama. Oke, PowerPoint. Biarkan saya keluar aja dengan pikiran saya, maybe. I'm sorry kalau. Yang ketiga, perlu anggaran yang cukup untuk itu. Tidak ada lagi satu negara yang sangat jago bisa menangani sendiri masalahnya. Bahkan kita bersoal dengan budidaya yang harus kita bicarakan. Tadi Mr. James Smith banyak banget menyampaikan itu. DJ sudah nyampaikan, Mr. Go sudah nyampaikan seperti itu. Yang kedua adalah kita butuh memang tidak hanya konsepsi dari budidaya, tetapi bagaimana mempaskakan ini, menghilirisasinya menjadi produk-produk yang dibutuhkan oleh dunia dari manapun. Yang kemudian ketiga, kita harus mendapatkan market yang jelas. Dengan market yang jelas mudah-mudahan mampu terjangkau dengan pembelian yang murah, khususnya pada negara-negara yang membutuhkan bantuan atau dalam quote and quote negara yang underdeveloped, negara-negara miskin dengan jumlah penduduk yang banyak. Saya kira ini tanggung jawab dunia bersama. Apa clue saya di situ adalah dunia membutuhkan kerjasama kita. Tak ada satu negara pun yang merasa hebat sendiri. Dia butuhkan kita hadir untuk sama-sama menolong dunia, menolong dalam bentuk global, kawasan maupun nasional masing-masing. Yang ketiga adalah saya mengusulkan ada 5 hal. Yang pertama, ada konsepsi baru yang lahir dari FAO, dan konsepsi ini merupakan target-target menghadapi tantangan-tantangan global yang kita rasakan hari ini, dengan baru saja selesai COVID 3 tahun, semua melalui COVID itu bersoal, belum recovery secara baik. Kita dihadapkan dengan climate change, kita dihadapkan dengan El Nino, kita dihadapkan dengan berbagai tantangan. Yang terakhir, dan kedua ada koordinasi intensif atau antar negara, antara institusi untuk membangun target-target konsepsi yang ada yang bisa saling mendukung. Tadi banyak yang disampaikan oleh DJ. Yang ketiga, agenda aksi, baik itu yang terencana, baik agenda intelektual melalui pelatihan-pelatihan dan pendekatan-pendekatan akademik. Yang kedua, manajemen agenda, dan ketiga, behavior agenda. Oke, last one. Yang keempat, membutuhkan budget yang cukup untuk mengintervensi pada negara-negara tertentu yang membutuhkan. Yang kelima, kemitraan dalam menangani impor-ekspor antara daerah. Terima kasih atas segala perhatian. Mudah-mudahan apa yang saya sampaikan tidak berlebihan. Ridha Allah bersama pertemuan ini, dan mudah-mudahan menjadi bagian-bagian untuk menghadirkan konsepsi dunia yang besok lebih baik. Sekian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih banyak, Minister. Really sorry to remind you of the time, but we are running a very, very full schedule, and it would be great if the speakers could limit their interventions to about 5 minutes. Chris, all yours.
That's right. Yes, thanks, and thanks as well to the Minister. I'd like to call up the Minister from Uruguay, Fernando Matos, who is Minister for Livestock, Agriculture, and Fisheries. Please.
Muy buenos días. El saludo al director general, a las autoridades, otros ministros que nos acompañan, y la satisfacción de estar aquí dirigiéndonos en este evento tan importante para discutir los temas de la ganadería. Una convención muy oportuna, seguramente muy tardía. Debiéramos haber iniciado este diálogo hace mucho tiempo. Y claramente esta organización, que es tan importante en la referencia de la alimentación a nivel mundial, también en el pasado ha tenido parte del aporte que no ha sido positivo para el desarrollo del concepto de la ganadería. La publicación de la larga sombra de la ganadería ha sido uno de los documentos más impactantes que hemos leído y que nos han perjudicado mucho desde el punto de vista de la concepción internacional del desarrollo de una actividad que es fundamental para el desarrollo de nuestras sociedades, de nuestras economías. Yo vengo de un país ganadero, soy ganadero, soy la quinta generación de ganaderos y tengo, ya como abuelo que soy, 2 generaciones que me suceden y niños muy pequeños que ya están jugando con animales de granja por esa pertenencia y orgullo que tenemos de lo que hacemos y lo que producimos y la importancia que tiene la producción ganadera en el aporte de la seguridad alimentaria mundial. Tengo el honor de ser ministro de Ganadería y vean el orden: Ganadería, Agricultura y Pesca. Para el Uruguay la ganadería es un hito importante. El orden de las actividades agropecuarias no está en orden alfabético, es porque la ganadería en el Uruguay es de las actividades más importantes que históricamente ha desarrollado nuestro territorio y que más allá de una actividad económica es una actividad también de suma importancia desde el punto de vista social, del punto de vista de la seguridad alimentaria, del punto de vista del desarrollo también de la protección del ambiente. Nosotros somos un país joven que tiene una ganadería que se introdujo hace 400 años por el colonizador y ese mismo colonizador decía que las tierras allí eran de ningún provecho porque no teníamos riquezas minerales. Nuestra gran riqueza eran y son los recursos naturales del punto de vista de las pasturas, de la disponibilidad de agua y de un clima propicio para el desarrollo de la actividad ganadera, sin la cual hoy no tendríamos las condiciones de las pasturas naturales que desarrollamos en más del 50% del territorio, para que también esos tres pilares de la sostenibilidad económica, social y ambiental se siguen sosteniendo y manteniendo. Yo felicito a la FAO por esta iniciativa. Es muy importante la discusión de cuál es el rol fundamental de la ganadería como aspecto esencial de la proporción y la generación de la proteína que necesitan los humanos para desarrollarse. No hubiera sido posible el desarrollo de la especie humana si no hubiera la disponibilidad de proteína que empezó ya en la prehistoria a través de la caza de los animales y que luego permanece a través de la producción de todas estas fuentes insustituibles de proteína que hoy son esenciales para la generación de la nutrición en el mundo. Quiero detenerme aquí en la importancia del comercio. Tenemos que trabajar mucho respecto de las concepciones de la importancia de la ganadería y del aporte de la producción de proteínas. Y lógicamente que partimos de realidades muy desiguales, pero estas desigualdades lamentablemente tienden a crecer en la medida que no tengamos una comprensión correcta de la importancia del proceso de producción y de la liberalización del comercio. Hoy tenemos tensiones internacionales muy complejas, tenemos una polarización, tenemos una guerra en Europa, tenemos un problema de suministro, tenemos un problema de seguridad alimentaria creciente y evidentemente todas las medidas que estamos tomando hoy, que muchas de ellas debemos hacernos un gran esfuerzo, como lo expresó Jim Smith en su ponencia respecto de cómo poder transmitir y comunicar mucho mejor lo que hacemos, ese orgullo que tenemos de ser ganaderos y la importancia que tiene esto para la nutrición del mundo, pero no podemos pasar por trabas al comercio que son crecientes y que son fruto de un gran proteccionismo comercial que es la gran liberación que debemos de tener para que el comercio sea más justo y podamos tener en nuestros países en desarrollo un crecimiento en base a esa justicia de comercio que cada vez está más trabado. Hoy se plantean políticas en cuanto al Pacto Verde, en cuanto a lo que es la posición de la Unión Europea respecto al comercio de los alimentos, con componentes de carácter ambiental que son muy preocupantes para los países exportadores y en desarrollo. Todos estamos de acuerdo en mejorar nuestro desempeño ambiental. La ganadería tiene cómo hacerlo y debe hacerlo mucho mejor y tenemos muchas prácticas que demostramos que nuestro desempeño productivo a través de la mejor eficiencia productiva puede producirse mucho más con mucho menos. Quiere decir, ese desafío de alimentar al mundo está presente y es posible hacerlo y podemos mejorar nuestro desempeño ambiental de nuestra ganadería a través de prácticas, a través de la investigación, a través de la mayor cooperación entre los países. Pero no es aceptable que nosotros tengamos hoy crecientes trabas al comercio y hoy un neoproteccionismo con cara ambiental que amenaza esa liberalización del comercio. Nosotros, los países en desarrollo, no necesitamos dádivas de los países desarrollados. El problema del ambiente no es la vaca, el problema del ambiente es el humano. El factor humano, el factor de nuestras prácticas de consumo, son las que han sido determinantes de la situación climática que vivimos. Por lo tanto, no se le puede inculpar a las vacas que cuando vimos claramente en aquella famosa foto del planeta Tierra durante el COVID, durante el lockdown del COVID, y vimos un mundo, un planeta límpido. Bueno, las vacas estaban allí, era porque había caído la actividad económica de tal manera por la reclusión y el confinamiento que tuvimos obligados a hacer en función de las amenazas sanitarias. Bueno, las vacas estaban allí, las vacas no estaban en Marte. Por lo tanto, no es responsabilidad de la ganadería la situación de cambio climático que estamos viviendo y sí es un problema de la acumulación de carbono atmosférico que está justamente gestionando todas estas dificultades del calentamiento global. Hoy estamos comprometidos con todas las metas, con todos los compromisos, hacemos un llamado a que el diálogo, la cooperación, que los países desarrollados direccionen realmente, no dádivas, pero sí todos los esfuerzos económicos que se han comprometido para revertir esta situación de aumento de la temperatura global. Festejamos y celebramos esta iniciativa, felicitamos a la FAO y estamos trabajando duramente por el aspecto de la cooperación y seguramente tendremos un futuro venturoso, más libre, más justo y con ese desafío de comunicar a todos los consumidores del mundo que la ganadería es parte de la solución y no parte del problema. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, señor ministro. Interesting to raise the trade aspect, the socioeconomic aspect. There are a lot of aspects to what we're talking about. That's why it's taking 3 days. And yes, next. Ty.
Next, we have Ms. Nicola Hinder, Deputy Secretary from the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry from Australia.
Good morning, ministers, delegates, representatives of the FAO. It's an absolute pleasure to be here this morning speaking at the conference on behalf of the Australian Government. And I'd like to thank the FAO for their promotion of balanced science and evidence-based discussions as we're having today on livestock sustainability. Australia absolutely promotes an outcomes-based, common-sense approach to agricultural sustainability, one that focuses on environmental, economic and social outcomes, one that acknowledges that there is diversity of circumstances between countries, i.e. there is no one-size-fits-all approach, supporting policies and regulations that are underpinned by transparent science and risk-based decision-making, and avoiding market-distorting policies and promoting the role of the multilateral trading system, including in transparent, predictable, open and fair markets. In a practical and an on-sense farm way, how does this translate though? We look to adopt land management practices that manage water, soil, nutrients, waste and emissions. We establish grazing systems that incorporate pastures that are resilient to hotter and much drier or more variable climates. And we also drive innovation via genetic improvements. And the FAO's 4 betters of better production, better nutrition, better environment and better life encapsulates our multifaceted approach to sustainability. On better production, Australia heavily invests in innovation, research and development because we recognise that it's important to improve livestock production so that we can continue to produce more with less. Australia heavily invests in research and development because we know it's a powerful driver of production. And in Australia, for every $1 that's invested in agricultural R&D, delivers around about $7.80 of return in benefits for farmers within 10 years. This has enabled huge productivity gains, such as reducing the feed conversion rate of chicken meat from around about 2.2 kilograms to 1.6 kilos of feed per livestock weight produced between 1990 and now. While we're also looking at increased research and development, we are also focused on how we support our agricultural sectors, and we genuinely believe that there is a global need to reconsider approaches and repurpose environmentally harmful supports, such as subsidies, to greater investment in innovation, research and development. Between 2019 and 2021, support towards the agricultural sector from 54 major economies reached US $817 billion. And that figure is steadily increasing. And while the support might be well intended, we do believe it doesn't deliver the intended results and instead stifles innovation, harms efficient farmers, decreases prices and causes environmental damage, including through the overuse of inputs such as herbicides, fertilisers and water. And if we're serious about actually achieving Sustainable Development Goal of zero hunger by 2030 and increasing productivity by 28%, we must act now, and that does include on tackling subsidies. Like in Australia, livestock food systems in other parts of the world enable the production of nutritious food where conditions may not suit other food production. We recognise that 1/3 of global protein supply comes from livestock, and consumption of animal-based foods can help to reduce stunting and wasting amongst children of less than 5, low birth weight, and anaemia in women of reproductive age. The FAO notes that eating more meat and eggs can substantially benefit poor people living in low-income regions, especially pregnant women, children and the elderly. And livelihoods enabled by the livestock sector also mean greater access to food. Australia's livestock sector does show what is possible to minimise the sector's environmental footprints, and our red meat industry has reduced its emissions by 65% since 2005. And our wheat and grass-fed beef farms are now below the global median for emissions intensity. 61% of broadacre grazing farms in Australia and 86% of our dairy farms have implemented a form of conservation grazing. And we have 7.6 million hectares of cattle-producing land set aside for conservation or protection purposes. In simple terms, that's around about 2.33% of Australia's available land grazing space and an area that is larger than Ireland. We are also continuing to focus on making our industries even more sustainable, and that's by ways of investing in low-emission feedstock technologies through the Methane's Emission Reduction in Livestock program. And all of our livestock industries have set targets or have plans in place to further reduce emissions. And I'd like to congratulate the Australian red meat industry for aiming to be the first in the world to be carbon neutral by 2030. Wrapping up, as in many countries, the livestock sector for Australia is a valuable source of livelihood, and it's a particularly important one in Australia, given the vast majority of our land is not suited to cropping. We are very, very focused in working globally with partners on the multilateral stage to be able to improve livestock sustainability around the world. But in doing so in such a way that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one may not work for all, but the challenge in front of us is finding that pathway that works for our systems, our environment, and improving our sustainability. Thank you, everyone, this morning.
Madam Deputy Secretary, thank you, Nicola, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I was in Byron Bay one time, and that used to be a major livestock producing region that made a transition to tourism and other things as well, right? Let us move on to Somalia. Hassan Hussein Mohammed, Minister of Livestock, Forestry and Range. Please, Mr. Hussein, please. I was by the way, in Somalia in 1993, where the international community saved the country from a famine, but it is now facing new difficulties, and this is probably the most extreme situation with war, climate change, and where most people, the livestock is a major form of livelihood. They depend on that. Mr. Minister, please.
marka hore waxaan salaamaa dhammaan wasiirada saaxiibada ee ka soo qayb galay waxaan kaloo salaamaa delegateska dhammaan oo wadamada kale ka yimid waxaan u macadcelinaa cid alle ciddii qaban qaabisay shirkan oo quruxda badan oo looga hadlayo sektorkan xoolaha aad uu muhiim ugu yahay markii laga hadlayo sektorka xoolaha jamhuuriyadda federaalka ee Soomaaliya كوزارة هان أنا كوحة بيروتي نوعه أما مهمة جارة نوعه أو دين حولها كو.
This will be translated into English, okay?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank, first of all, the colleague ministry that participated in this meeting, the FAO, the international delegates, the academic, the all institutions, everybody come to this meeting today. In Somalia, livestock is everything in life is a livestock, and for the past decades, the country has many challenges that deliberated the most of the livestock livelihood infrastructure. Continue on.
أنك واحد نقول مهمسن أمانته سكتر هذا نقول مهمسن وباهن إن واحد لقى قبته مركي حولها لقى هذا الصومالي Soomaaliya waa dal ka soo kabanaya dhibaatooyin iyo dagaalo burbur horey u dhacay muhiimad waxay saarey in marka ugu horeyso dhinaca caafimaadka wax laga qabto oo xoolaha maadaama dadka Soomaaliyeed ay yihiin dad badan oo xoolo dhaqata dunyadana waa ogtihiin mar walba waxa isbedelaya dhinaca environmentiga marka arrimahaas labaadna in wax laga qabto muhiimad ay noo leeyihiin muhiimadda saddexaad oo muhiim noo ah waxay tahay in wax soo saarka dhinaca calafka xoolaha aad looga shaqeeyo arrintaas muhiimad noo leh ayadana
For us recovering for a long war, one of the things that in our countries has different challenges than any other countries. It's climate shocks that has been repeated for the past few years, the livelihood at stake. So as a government of the Federal Republic of Somalia, we mobilize in specific, unique priorities compared to other priorities that the countries may have. So looking into a feed and fodder, animal health, and rangeland issues. And for those are the things that we are trying to more prioritize, more policy making, more initiative, and also as well as climate financing, because the drought and lack of water, scarcities, all these are one of the biggest challenges the country is facing at the moment.
muhiimadahaas haddii wax laga qabto insha Allah tacaala waxaan rajaynaynaa inuu hagaago aad iyo aadna waa ugu mahadcelinaa FAO iyo dadka shirka soo qabangaabiyay waana mahadsantihiin
With all these important things, I hope this meeting also focus on things that are important to uniquely, if each countries may have a different unique aspect of it. And we look forward to transformation, sustainability, a long time in the livestock sector. But in Somalia, we're looking into the thing that sustain livestock. Number one, in being anything that to avoid with the climate shocks and longer term investment in the feed and food and animal health and welfare of the animal structure. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Thin, please.
Thank you very much to all of our high-level speakers for all of your insights. We will request you to return to your seats so that we're going to have the next segment where we're going to change the tempo a little bit. We have another short video to show you, which is going to be about how youth are at the forefront of the agribusiness transformation. Can we have the video, please?
This is a critical moment for our planet and our land. A crucial moment for our future, when the future of our planet will be decided by the brave people that want to step up and make changes happen. Living off the land is a way of life. But we, the young farmers and pastoralists, are facing more challenges than ever. The global climate crisis impacts every aspect of our life, and young people are forced to abandon rural areas to look for jobs and opportunities in cities. Many young people don't see the appeal of being a livestock producer anymore. Getting access to land, credit, education, and resources are still challenging for many. Moving towards a sustainable livestock sector is important for us because this determines our future, and we need to be part of the transformation. We need to be able to educate ourselves, to acquire new skills, but also understand how to run a successful livestock business. We need more opportunities for young women in the sector. We need to be involved in the decisions affecting our lives to make our sector more sustainable. We want to have a voice in the policy-making process. This process needs to be inclusive and diverse, with women, minorities, small-scale producers, and indigenous peoples represented and present. We are the key to unlocking a sustainable future for the livestock sector. We are ready to take bold decisions, find innovative solutions, and make change happen together. We are ready to be part of the transformation. And our journey begins here today, where we will determine what our first steps will look like. A journey for the youth by the youth. At this youth dialogue, we will begin working together to make a sustainable livestock sector possible for us all. Be part of the transformation. Leave no one behind.
Great. Thank you for the video. And when we said we're going to change the tempo a little bit, we do mean it. As you can see, these are all the youth representatives in front of you. And we are going to hear from two of the representatives who will be speaking on their behalf. We have Ana Maria Rueda Garcia and Samuel Locato Midaku. I'm so sorry if I mangled your surnames, but yeah, the floor is all yours.
My name is Samuel Lekato from Kenya. Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samuel Lekato from Kenya. I'm very excited and honored to be on the stage to represent the youth and my indigenous community with Ana Maria from Spain. Yes, as you have seen on the screen, our journey begins today. Today, for the first time at FAO Global Youth Dialogue, we are going to discuss the main challenges the youth face and solutions needed for the sustainable livestock transformation. We have about 100 participants from all around the world, including the young farmers, producers, scientists, representatives from the civil society and the private sector. The diverse perspective and background will undoubtedly elevate the event to an extraordinary level. We acknowledge the challenges and the problem that our livestock system faces today, but we are even more concerned about future. We believe that the livestock is a part of the solution. It can improve the livelihood and contribute to a more sustainable and resilient future for all. Thank you.
Una de las cosas más valiosas que los jóvenes tenemos es que cada desafío lo convertimos en una oportunidad para buscar soluciones, aprender y crecer. En nuestra búsqueda de respuestas, recordemos que son la energía, la creatividad y la visión de la juventud la que nos impulsarán hacia adelante. Queremos que este sea un evento para que los jóvenes hablen entre sí y compartan un objetivo común final: la creación de una declaración juvenil que impulse la transformación sostenible del sector pecuario. Queremos que se produzcan cambios e inspirarnos en todos ustedes, las generaciones que nos preceden. Aprendamos los unos de los otros para construir soluciones que traspasen fronteras. Juntos podemos dar forma al futuro que queremos heredar, uno que sea sostenible y justo. Este diálogo mundial de la juventud tendrá lugar en la Red Room, en el primer piso del edificio A. A lo largo de este evento, invito a que cada uno de ustedes quieran compartir su experiencia para participar en rigurosas discusiones, compartir ideas innovadoras y buscar colaboraciones. Todos ustedes son bienvenidos a unirse a nosotros. Por favor, no duden en acercarse. El Diálogo Mundial de la Juventud no es solo un evento, es una plataforma por y para los jóvenes. Queremos ser parte de la transformación sostenible del sector pecuario y no dejar a nadie atrás. Antes de terminar, me gustaría invitarles a que cerrasen los ojos unos segundos y que nos imaginemos que vamos a viajar en este viaje juntos, armados de esperanza, determinación y una visión compartida de un futuro mejor. Un viaje que dura 3 días, un abrir y cerrar de ojos, pero que estoy convencida de que nos va a dejar momentos inolvidables. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias. What we would like to do now, very quickly, is to do a jump shot. If all of you on 3 can make a jump for the photographer. Can you do that? Ready? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! Okay, we do it one more time. One more time. Photographer needs another shot. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Big hand to all the youth here. Thank you. Jeez. Because the future of farming are these people. They really are. Yes.
Thanks for doing all the legwork, Chris, of running around.
That was good fun.
while I stand here and try and look calm. Thank you very much again to all of our youth and the representatives for their passion and determination to change things. I mean, youth are our future, right? We're now going to have our second keynote speaker, Elizabeth Nsimadala. Can I ask Elizabeth to come on the stage, please? Now, Elizabeth is a young Ugandan agripreneur and a smallholder farmer, but she is also the president of the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. Now, as if that is not enough, she is also the African representative on the board of the World Farmers Organization. Now, Elizabeth's keynote address will touch on both the opportunities and the challenges that are being faced by livestock sector, particularly by smallholder farmers. Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Distinguished Excellencies, friends of farmers in the audience, can you join me and we give a very big round of applause to FAO? Yeah, thank you. The reason I've requested you to join me in thanking FAO is because of the importance that FAO attaches to farmers globally. And not only just farmers, but also young farmers. And I wish all the other institutions can join FAO in walking the talk. And before we know it, maybe this will also translate into the required investments that are needed in transforming the agriculture sector. I've already been introduced. I'm a young farmer, smallholder farmer, in crop, forestry, and livestock. So livestock is a sector that is dear and close to my heart. I bring you greetings from the farmers of Africa, where we have a footprint in over 50 countries of Africa, representing over 80 million smallholder farmers. And these are members of, we draw membership from the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, the Pan-Africa Farmers Organization, and also the World Farmers Organization across Africa continent. So our central role as a farmers organization is to contribute to feeding the continent and the world while preserving and protecting our environment. And we do this by empowering our members, ensuring we have the right partnerships, contributing to policy discourse, sharing important information and knowledge, providing leadership in the sector, and strengthening our member institutions at all levels. We draw our membership right from the grassroots up to the global level. Our members are involved in all value chains, including livestock value chain, where, for example, one of our member countries, Ethiopia, leads in having the largest livestock population in Africa, contributing to over 37% of GDP in agriculture. There are over 350 million livestock keepers in Africa, including the pastoral communities. Livestock is an important sector to Africa, where in addition to significantly contributing to its GDP, it provides food security and livelihoods for at least 30% of the African population. And that said, Africa only has about a third of the world's global livestock population, and this is according to Africa Union IBA report of 2016. So the role of livestock, we all know the role of livestock because anyway, we are here to discuss livestock, is of course a source of protein. It offers employment opportunities across the value chain. It's a source of income, capital accumulation, and social integration among communities. There are many opportunities, especially in variation, that have not yet been fully exploited. And we believe if we can exploit these opportunities, they would create more opportunities for youth and women across the value chain. The Africa Union has a livestock development strategy for Africa, 2015-2035, which looks at, among others, the investments, animal health and productivity, innovations, technology, capacity and entrepreneurship, markets, and variation. This strategy is aligned with the CADIP as well as the strategies by the regional economic communities. In my region, the East Africa Community, we have a livestock policy that was developed in 2016 with our input as farmers' organizations. And also the IGAD has a protocol on transhumance aimed at enhancing free movement of pastoralists living in border areas of IGAD member countries in search of pastures as guided by the AUC policy framework for pastoralism in Africa. So the question is, where are we now in terms of livestock sector? In essence, it is very clear that we have all the necessary legal frameworks on the continent. We have the institutions in place. We have the research organizations, we have the private sector, and ourselves as farmers' organizations are also aligned to these strategies. However, the growth and development in the sector is not very encouraging, and I believe that is why we are all here, to forge a way forward. And my next question is why? Why are we where we are? One key reason is funding. The livestock sector has always faced the brunt of low funding compared with crop sector. The availability of funds, whether from government allocation, development funding, even the private sector, have been difficult to be increased and accessed. The risks associated with venturing in the sector, especially a number of livestock subsectors, is very unbecoming. Climate change. Due to low investments over time, we have not established mitigating investments to manage the advent of climate change shocks. Recently, the Horn of Africa lost more than 6 million herds of cattle and goats to drought, resulting in the worst catastrophe at the farmer level in the recent years. And this was not only in the Horn of Africa. We've seen this also in the northern part of Uganda, Karamoja region. We've seen this in Kenya, for example, the areas of Kajiado, in the last drought that was faced in the region. There's urgent need to look for other interventions beyond or in addition to early warning systems. Some of these interventions may include the selection of value chains that have lower risks associated with these changes, such as the adoption of agro-pasture policies, exploration of other value chains and ventures like the camel and goat value chain, among others. The other reason is conflicts. Despite there being a protocol on transhumance, we still have conflicts between crop and livestock farmers. We also have cattle rustling affecting development of the sector. It's not clear how this protocol has been domesticated at the national level and what level of awareness there is between the livestock keepers and government officials at local level to facilitate avoidance of these conflicts. Variation is very key. Apart from selected opportunities in dairy or pig/pork, poultry and leather value chains, most of the other subsectors have significantly lower investments in value addition. Currently, due to other production and market-related factors, the dairy and pork value chains are struggling, with many farmers shutting their farms due to high cost of production. Most value chains suffer from lack of sufficient and consistent supply of raw materials, which is a production factor. The FAO Global Director mentioned about the feed and fodder. The quality and quantity of animal feed has faced a myriad of challenges. The feed industry looks for support from the crop sector for its raw materials. The region does not have sufficient maize germ, soya and cotton seed cake, among others. The prices for these commodities are beyond the reach of many farmers. We are worried about the future of the sector if this continues. Animal diseases in country and also cross-border. The transboundary infections have had a history of wiping out herds in their thousands. With the forthcoming El Nino, for example, we are not aware of measures in place to prevent the aftermath of the rains on matters of diseases. We are aware of the ongoing consultations, for example, at the East Africa Community, on cross-border veterinary protocols to manage sharing of information and management of such risks. We need further engagement with other stakeholders who are in this room. Our request from the farmers. The African farmers still hold the largest population of indigenous breeds for a variety of livestock breeds. For example, from my country, you've heard of the famous Ankole cattle. These breeds play an important role in the genetic improvement of our current breeds, but also in climate change adaptation. We call on support to assist our members in managing this important resource. Financial inclusion. There is need to continuously invest in financing the sector. There are many opportunities for the youth and women across the cottage industry. We still haven't exploited the current variation opportunities, and there is need to develop more credit and risk mitigation products and tools. We call on more development funding to help develop some of these products, but also build the capacity of farmers and practitioners to make the various subsectors attractive for private financing. We also call on governments to make more public investments in research, in technology, in innovations, but also in areas that are contributing to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Animal health. Health is a component of quality of feed, nutrition, and management. The investments needed for continuously supply of the right quality of food at affordable cost are needed as urgently as yesterday. We need to also invest in a circular agronomy where we integrate nature-based solutions to our agriculture systems by integrating crop and livestock ventures. The capacity of our vet services is wanting, especially in the rural areas. There is insufficient support as well as inadequate quality of animal medicine, and in some countries, proliferation of adulterated products. There is an opportunity of engaging and empowering cooperative societies and farmers' associations as potential service providers in vet services, both in providing the service as well as drugs. We are ready to engage with you in these areas. Policy awareness. There has been a recurrent challenge on awareness of various policies by farmers. At EF, PAFO, and WFO, we have engaged our membership before in creating such forums where we invite policymakers at all levels to make this awareness both in country and at the borders. But sometimes we've realized that even the border officials are not aware of such policies, and other times there has been no domestication of policies adopted at regional, continental, and global level. Protection of the African livestock sector. We have noted with concern about global discussions on plant protein as an alternative to animal protein. as well as contributions of the sector to global warming. We call upon the Africa Union Commission and other African-based institutions, including ourselves, to protect our livestock sector. The contribution of Africa to global warming is, for me, insignificant contribution, and such should not be misconstrued as a reason for reducing funding. The role of livestock in nutrition and livelihoods of our people goes back to many generations. The discussion to develop artificial protein to replace animal protein should also not affect our sector. We need local solutions for our local challenges. As all the speakers were mentioning, that it's not just a one-size-fits-all. We need to develop those locally based solutions. We also need to support the Africa Continental Free Trade Area process and open up our borders to enhance livestock trading among ourselves and providing opportunities for more investments. As I bring my keynote address to conclusion, the livestock has over the years suffered from extremely low investments. This has made the entire sector and actors extremely vulnerable to many shocks that the sector has faced. The advent of climate change has been the most significant of all of them. The sector is important not only to Africa, but to the entire world, and not just from a cultural and heritage perspective, but also as a source of livelihood for a third of the population, a source of nutrition to millions of school-going children, and a form of food security to over 800 million people in Africa. We need to listen to the farmers. We have ignored this sector for far too long, and we need affirmative action going forward in terms of protection, in terms of investments, technologies, research, innovation, capacity, and partnerships at scale. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you for your calls to action, including for youth and for women, and that was very important for all of us. Let us move on to Thanawat Tiansin, Director of the FAO Animal Production and Health Division, to introduce to you the Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative. Thanawat, please.
Very good morning, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, our youth, ladies and gentlemen. You have heard a lot of commitment. You have heard about solutions that we call for more actions for sustainable livestock transformation. What is the next step? What we need your support, that we're going to transform something that's already done in a right direction. We will continue to scale up. Something that we need to do more, we can discuss, and that's why today, without your participation, without your support, we cannot make this global conference happen here today at FAO. And thank again for our youth. Your voice is very important, and that's why you bring you here, and you have your own dialogue to discuss what is your futures. And on Friday, you will discuss with our ministers and also the representative from all sectors what we can continue to do together more and more to achieve sustainability, to make sure that we achieve sustainable livestock transformation together. As our keynote speakers, Dr. Smith mentions, we need to produce to feed almost 10 billion people by 2050. The question is, how are we going to produce? How are we going to increase the productivities to meet the global demands? It's not only animal protein, but also other kind of foods. And that's why it's our challenge that we need to answer this question together. And according to the projections, the demand of animal protein will increase by 20% by 2050. We need your support. We need your commitment. And we need your action. The action needs to be done today if we want to see better results by 2050. And you can see that the demand of animal protein in its regions, over the past decades, the demand of animal protein is increasing in Asia and will continue. Now you can see that the demand of animal protein consumptions in Africa is also going up. Because over the past decade, in Africa, the consumption per capita of animal protein is still very low. And you can see the demand of consumption of animal protein in Africa also increasing. But maybe it's a bit stable in Europe and Pacific or Oceania. And that's why we know that we still have a lot of challenge. And over the past decade, the livestock sectors has been criticized. We have got a lot of complaints about livestock sectors in several issues in terms of animal disease, antimicrobial resistance, greenhouse gas emissions, foodborne disease, food safety, biodiversity loss, and other issues. But we know that the sector itself and all of you working very hard to make sure that we can address those issues properly. And that's why we need your commitment. We need your action, how we can do more to transform the sectors. And what does the livestock sectors have to offer? Livestock sectors can offer to this planet, to healthy people, more and more in terms of food securities, nutritional securities. And livestock is a solution for many countries in dryland areas for climate resilience, adaptations, and also for small-scale farmers, poor people. Livestock sectors can give more solutions. In terms of SDG, livestock sectors is a part of agri-food system. Livestock sectors also can contribute to inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Livestock sectors provide nutritious food, animal source food, animal proteins, and nutritious food for all. And livestock sectors also contribute to ecosystem service. And livestock sectors also bring equitable livelihood or better life for all. And that's why we need to look forward what we can do more together and what Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative, what we want to achieve. Sustainable livestock sectors that satisfies global demand for animal source foods and other animal products, distributes and benefit equitably, and contribute positively to the environment while using natural resources efficiently. How are we going to produce more with less impact? This one is our commitment. And as previous speaker mentions, there's no one size fits all. We need to take into account of country, national, sectors, context specific. We need to respect the difference of the countries. We need to respect the priorities of the countries. When you talk about sustainability, the three dimensions of sustainability in terms of economic, social, and environmental aspect. Each country have a different need. Each country have a different priorities. The 3 dimension is not equal at the country level. It's up to the need of the countries. And that's why how we going to achieve, what is the roadmap for the success for Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative? How are we going to build evidence narrative? How FAO can support the country in terms of collecting and making available of data, solutions, in terms of knowledge, including traditional knowledge as well. How are we going to promote adoptions of good practices? You come here, you bring idea, you bring good practices from different countries, different regions, different sectors. And we can replicate, we can learn from you, we can work together more and more. How are we going to support the policy development and also increasing responsible investment? Because we need further investment. And that's why during this conference, we also have the side events on investment, on financial support, to make sure that we can continue to support the countries, the sectors more, if we want to do more for development. And how we're going to integrate the work on animal production, animal health, environmental health, and also human health through the One Health approach. This one is the challenge that we are still see that we need to do more and more. And the last, how we're going to accelerate action, innovation, and partnership. And that's why during this week, you can see that now in FAO buildings, a lot of innovations, technologies, mechanizations, that we bring it here to offer you, to share all ideas. In terms of sustainable pathway, we know that each sectors have your own way, have sustainable pathway, and some countries, some sectors are working on that in terms of sustainable pathway for dairy sectors, beef sectors, sustainable pathway for small ruminants, poultry, pig, pastoral system, and also in terms of feed and the whole value chain and market. And that's why Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative, we are committed to ensure more incomes for communities and more equitable futures for healthy people and planet. We would like to address human, animal, and environmental aspects for sustainable management and use of natural resources. We will provide people with affordable, healthy diets and nutrition while producing low emissions and environmental impact together. We will enhance the practical actions and solutions at all levels. And also, we would like to promote participatory and innovative approach for sustainable and resilient livestock system together. We still have a long journey together. We start discussing about sustainable livestock transformation today, but we are expecting that by 2030, livestock can increase in terms of food security, livestock reduce the impact, greenhouse gas emission, environmental impact, and so on. We have a strong commitment here, and we need action from all of you, and I'm sure that we can make a difference together. Thank you very much.
Kopu Manaka Kantanawat for those remarks. We're now going to have the part 2 of our second high-level panel discussion. So can I ask the government representatives and officials from Laos, Brazil, New Zealand, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Switzerland on the stage, please? Thank you. Sit in the middle.
What?
As you wish.
As you wish, please. Yes, where you're comfortable. Great. Could we, we'll wait while they're putting on the translation. Audio devices. Great. Can we perhaps start with the Vice Minister for Agriculture and Forestry from the Lao People's Democratic, Mr. Atongpak Vonmane? It would be great to hear your thoughts, on what you would like to see over these 3 days. What are the priorities from your country's perspective? Thank you.
Excellencies, representatives from government ministries, development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry, as well as the government of Lao PDR, I would like to express an appreciation for an opportunity for Lao PDR to participate in this first global conference on sustainable livestock transformation. In this occasion, I would like to bring perspectives from Lao PDR on the subject and align my statement with the need for sustainable livestock transformation for Lao PDR. Together with this note, I would like to stress the importance of livestock production in Lao PDR. Firstly, livestock is a major source of protein, which is essential for Lao population, for improving nutrition status in the country. In particular, livestock production provides an important source of protein for families who may not have access to other sources of protein. Secondly, livestock production creates employment as it is create jobs and generate income for farmers, veterinary, feed suppliers, and other support services. This helps to support rural community and enhance their livelihoods. Thirdly, livestock production contributes to the economy. It is a major contributor to Lao economy, which accounted for 2.4% of the country's GDP. In addition, it contributes to export market to the key trading partners in the region and others, leading to incremental hard currency flow. Plus, livestock production supports agriculture by providing organic fertilizer for crops, which improve soil fertility and increase crop yield, leading to reduction of imported fertilization. On this important note, and in view of moving forward with sustainable livestock transformation in my country, I would like to underline the following points. First, to develop long-term national livestock production strategy and action plan. This will need to outline the goal, objectives, and strategies for sustainable livestock transformation. Effort will be on the principle of sustainable development and should be guided by the needs and priority of the livestock sector in the country. Second, to build institutional capacity, more investment are much needed in building institutional capacity for livestock transformation, This includes investing in research and development, extension services, and training programs for farmers and livestock producers. Third, promote market-oriented livestock production and feeding. This can be achieved by providing farmers with market information, access to credit, inputs, and services. It's also important to encourage private sector investment by creating an enabling environment for private sector, provide incentive, and promoting public-private partnership. Fourth, to promote sustainable livestock production systems which are environmentally friendly and socially responsible. These include improved feeding system, promoting biogas digesters for manure management, implementing agroforestry system, conservation of agriculture, and other sustainable land use practices. Next, to strengthen livestock value chains by promoting linkage between producers, processors, and markets. This includes investing in infrastructure such as road and market and promote value addition and marketing of livestock products. Finally, to enhance policy coordination and implementation of livestock policies should be enhanced and at all levels of government. This includes strengthening inter-ministerial coordination and working with development partners to ensure that policies are effectively implemented. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the key points that LAPIDA would like to contribute during this conference. I wish the conference successful with great results. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you. Let us move on to Brazil. Renata Bueno Miranda, Secretary of Innovation, Sustainable Development, Irrigation, and Cooperativism, Ministry of Agriculture of Brazil. If you could let us know, bom dia, by the way, if you could let us know the priorities you see over these next 3 days.
Thank you.
And how we make this, how we reach this interaction among all the different players and actors in this, stakeholders. How do we do that? How do we make it work? Yeah.
Let's see. We have many things to talk about. First of all, the DGU, authorities, keynote speakers, gentlemen, and especially, very especially, the ladies and the youth people here. Thank you very much. It's very special to have you here. We need to start overcoming some challenges, and the first one, of course, I speak Portuguese. It's my native language, and I've decided to speak in English. And your challenge is to understand my Portuguese accent. So let's make it work. First of all, it's a very pleasure to talk about sustainability. But before exploring livestock issue, I'd like to walk around the concept, because I'm a woman, I'm an Afro-descendant person, and I'm also an indigenous descendant person. And why I'm talking about colors and race, while we are talking about livestock, because we need to talk about diversity. Since we are talking about public policies, of course, we need to remember that we have to talk more than biodiversity. We need to talk about human diversity, society diversity. That's why I'm here today more than talk about sustainable livestock. Because the promotion of sustainable development must rely on increasing the diversity of actors and approaches, respecting local circumstances, those differences and capabilities. Dr. Tanawa already said it, and I want to highlight it. Sustainability is a balance among forces and drives. We know that. But what kind of forces and drives you have in your country? I know mine, and probably they are different. So when we are talking about public policies, we need to take account of this kind of difference and diversity. Here, we are engaged to consider economic development and environment protection in a holistic approach, but therefore, we should look for balance between North and South, East and West, past, present, and future. We cannot close our eyes to the history of each country. We know here people from South America, Africa, and Asia are still feeling the effects of colonization. So it's the part of our sustainable solutions. We are not part of the Northeast quadrant, and we need to pay attention on it. Building confidence among countries is fundamental to recognize their different fair shares. In addition to trust, other four pillars need to form the basis of this external relation among countries. Beyond diversity, I would say respect, empathy, and solidarity. We already have a lot of data. We have a lot of statistical results, but they are not enough to express the complexity of sustainability. And science, we have to take care about it. Science cannot be used as a cloak of neutrality. We cannot paint everything with gray. But here today, I want to be this voice of diversity. And I bring good news. Agriculture, including livestock, has been an important key for peace and prosperity. As my dear friend Fernando from Uruguay said, livestock is part of the solution. Livestock is a source of employment, prosperity, health, assuring food security in national and international levels. Brazil used to import staple foods less than 50 years ago. Now we are the fourth largest producer in the world, the second in meat production, and the largest net exporter of agricultural goods worldwide. We have a large and very important commitment to mitigate greenhouse gas emission that we call Low Carbon Agriculture Plan, ABC Plan. And it has been implemented for the last 13 years. We call it a policy, an integrated policy called Producing and Conserving. And we have 3 days to talk about it, and we can show a lot of results, statistics, and so on. But here, we have to say that mitigation action are relevant, but adaptation measures shall also be in the center of climate change policies, because the adverse impacts of climate change in agriculture are increasing, and our capacity to guarantee food security for future generations are in risk. So please take care what we are discussing here, okay? Let's bring diversity to the round table. Different perspectives can open a new future. Thank you.
Muito obrigado, Ms. Renata. I'm now trying my bad Portuguese on you. Next, next we have Mr. Ray Smith, Chief Executive and Director General, Ministry of Primary Industries from New Zealand.
Kia ora koutou, katoa. Greetings everyone from New Zealand. Can I thank the moderators for the way they're conducting this event, and particularly can I acknowledge the FAO for bringing this event to the fore. We think this is a very important discussion that we're having here beginning today. If you were to fly across New Zealand and look down, you would see mountains, you would see forests, you would see vast amounts of grassland, and a country that is surrounded by ocean. We are blessed with natural resources, and the careful management of those natural resources generates prosperity and wealth for our country. With 90% of all of the food that we produce exported to global partners, all of whom are represented here today. And 2/3 of that food production comes from livestock. It's an important part, the livestock sector, a critical part of the New Zealand economy and society, and of all of our local communities, and are incredibly important to our Māori people, our local Indigenous population. Maintaining these sectors' economic and cultural contributions to New Zealand is very important as we reduce the impact on the environment. We are proud of the high level of environmental performance of our livestock sectors. They are repeatedly measured as amongst the most environmentally efficient in the world, and we have improved significantly over time. Over the last 40 years, the efficiency of livestock production in New Zealand has improved by over 30%. So for every unit of protein we produce, the climate impact is now 30% lower. Removing subsidies nearly 40 years ago created a huge incentive for farmers to invest in productive efficiency. It's one of the biggest reasons why our performance has increased so rapidly. Our farmers are smart, they know their land and production systems better than any government will ever do, in genetics, nutrition, and animal health, amongst others. We've undertaken extensive reforms covering biodiversity, water quality and use, animal welfare, and a host of regenerative agricultural projects. But even with this high level of performance, we recognise there is need for improvement. Livestock account for about half of New Zealand's greenhouse gas emissions, with methane being a particular challenge. In 2019, the New Zealand Parliament passed the Zero Carbon Act, which committed New Zealand to reduce carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide emissions to zero by 2050, and to reduce methane emissions by 10% below 2017 levels by 2030, and then by 24 to 47% by 2050. New Zealand has committed to a number of different approaches to reduce emissions from livestock. As a first step, every farm will need to be able to report on its emissions by 2024. We've also made very significant investments in research and development, including international partnerships. Last year, the Government of New Zealand established the Climate Emergency Response Fund and made New Zealand's largest ever research and development investment in reducing methane from livestock. A centrepiece of that has been the development of a joint venture initiative between New Zealand's 6 largest food-producing companies and the government. A 50-50 partnership, a sharing of capital and resources, and a private company that's been established to go after a solution for methane in livestock. A solution that we will bring to New Zealand and hope to share with the rest of the world. In 2009, we led the launch of the Global Research Alliance on agricultural greenhouse gases, an initiative together with policymakers, researchers, and capability-building experts from across its 67 member countries, and the dual aim of reducing agricultural emissions while increasing food production. New Zealand experts are supporting other countries to better measure and monitor their own agricultural emissions and build capacity in their countries. So again, we applaud the FAO for convening this event. This event and others like it are critical for us all to collectively reiterate our commitment to reduce agricultural emissions and to begin to work together on practical steps to do so. Those of us who have achieved success in this area must be ready to share the experiences that have worked for us. The OECD has calculated that in order to achieve both climate and productivity goals, we need to raise agricultural productivity by 28% in this decade. Well, New Zealand has achieved in the last 30 years approximately this goal. We can share that expertise with the others here. Finally, it's critical that we maintain an open, science-based and transparent, rules-based trading system as we consider how to make progress here. And we need to treat climate change and agriculture as a global challenge that requires collaboration, not competition and protectionism. Failure to do this risks creating barriers in international markets that will impede food security as well as slow down progress on addressing climate issues. I want to thank the FAO again for bringing this matter to the fore in the manner which it has, and I encourage all participants over the ensuing days to give their best and take their best back to their own countries. Thank you very much.
Ray Smith, thank you very much. Interesting to hear about the commitments by New Zealand, but also that you achieved goals, even the OECD goal, quite early. That's very interesting. Thank you. Let's move to Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Ali bin Mohammed Al Shaikhi, Director General, CEO, Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture, Fisheries Resource, and President, National Fisheries and Livestock Development Program. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Shukran. Mr. Al Shaikhi, what are your priorities during these next 3 days? What would you like to see?
Sure. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أصحاب المعالي الوزراء، السيدات والسادة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يشرفني أتقدم باسم المملكة العربية السعودية بخالص شكرنا للأمانة العامة للأمم المتحدة على عقد هذا المؤتمر حول التحول المستدام في مجال الثروة الحيوانية تحت شعار إنتاج أفضل وتغذية أفضل وبيئة أفضل وحياة أفضل. وهنا أود أن أعبر تقديري لمنظمة الفاو على دعوتهم الكريمة لهذا المؤتمر، والذي يعد فرصة ممتازة لمناقشة القضايا الاستراتيجية ذات الصلة بقطاع الثروة الحيوانية وأهمية العمل الجماعي وتوحيد الجهود لضمان تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة 2030. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، يأتي هذا المؤتمر والمملكة تضع استراتيجيات وخطوات مهمة لجعل قطاع الثروة الحيوانية أكثر إنتاجية وأكثر استدامة لتعزيز الأمن الغذائي. تمثل ذلك في لعب المملكة دورا رائدا إقليميا وعالميا لدعم التنمية المستدامة في قطاع الثروة الحيوانية، حيث يعد هذا هدف رئيسي من أهداف الاستراتيجية الوطنية للزراعة وإحدى مستهدفات التحول الوطني في المملكة العربية السعودية. وفي إطار جهود المملكة المبذولة لتطوير قطاع الثروة الحيوانية، تستعد المملكة للقيام بدور ريادي على المستوى العالمي برئاسة السنة الدولية للإبليات 2024 والتي أطلقتها الأمم المتحدة مؤخرا. كما تترأس حاليا اللجنة التوجيهية السابعة للشرق الأوسط لمجموعة تادز، والتي تسهم في المكافحة التدريجية للأمراض الحيوانية العابرة للحدود. وكذلك تقود اللجنة الإقليمية للشرق الأوسط للمنظمة العالمية للصحة الحيوانية، والتي تهدف إلى تنظيم التعاون الإقليمي في مكافحة الأمراض الحيوانية في منطقة الشرق الأوسط. كما تستضيف المؤتمر الإقليمي 17 للمنظمة الحيوانية للصحة الحيوانية في شهر أكتوبر المقبل. أصحاب المعالي، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكرام، لدينا في المملكة خطط طموحة وبناءة لدعم الثروة الحيوانية على المستوى المحلي، وذلك بعقد شراكات مع منظمة التغذية والأمم المتحدة الفاو للتحول المستدام للثروة الحيوانية من خلال برنامج وطني لتطوير قطاع الثروة الحيوانية والسمكية، ومركز متخصص يعمل وفق مبدأ الصحة الواحدة. وكذلك تم إطلاق برنامج التنمية الريفية للزراعة المستدامة بهدف تحسين القطاع الزراعي الريفي. ومركز الجينوم للمساهمة في رفع الكفاءة الإنتاجية للسلالات المحلية، بجانب إقامة شراكات استراتيجية مع جامعات ومراكز بحثية رائدة وشركات عالمية، وتعزيز قدرات البحث والابتكار بإنشاء مراكز بحثية متخصصة في الثروة الحيوانية، إضافة إلى جهود كبيرة لتهيئة البيئة الملائمة للاستثمارات في القطاع الخاص في المملكة العربية السعودية، بالإضافة إلى المبادرات الإقليمية التي تعمل عليها المملكة العربية السعودية، مثل المركز الإقليمي للتنمية المستدامة للثروة السمكية، كذلك مدينة البروتين الحيواني، والتي سيكون للمملكة تعاون بناء مع العديد من الدول في هذه المدينة، والتي ستساهم في تخفيض التكاليف المترتبة عليها في قطاع الثروة الحيوانية لتحقيق إمكانية الاستهلاك ورفع كمية الاستهلاك للفرد. مبادرة السعودية الخضراء ستساهم بشكل مباشر في تحقيق الاكتفاء وزيادة الإنتاج. مبادرة بدائل البروتين الحيواني للإنتاج الحيواني مثل الطحالب والبكتيريا لتحويل غاز الميثان إلى بروتين حيواني. السيدات والسادة، أحد أهم المستهدفات التي نسعى لتحقيقها في هذا اللقاء الذي سيستمر هذه 3 أيام، نطالب بإنشاء منظمات إقليمية تعنى بتنمية مستدامة للثروة الحيوانية على غرار ما يعمل في الثروة السمكية، واستغلال نقاط القوة عند كل دولة عضو في هذا الإقليم. وعلى سبيل المثال تحدث معالي الرئيس العام في صباح اليوم عن السودان واندونيسيا كميزة نسبية للاستثمار وزيادة الإنتاج. كذلك لا ننسى تطوير التقنيات الحديثة الصديقة للبيئة ومنها الجينوم، والذي سيساهم في زيادة الإنتاج. السيدات والسادة، في الختام أؤكد على استمرار المملكة العربية السعودية نحو تحقيق الإنجازات المهمة في مجال الحفاظ على الثروة الحيوانية وتنميتها، مستشعرة بذلك أهمية مركزها الإقليمي ومسؤوليتها نحو الحفاظ على الموارد الطبيعية، وذلك عبر تعزيز الإجراءات والحلول العلمية بالتعاون مع الشركاء من الدول والمنظمات العالمية، آملا أن تسهم جهودنا في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. Before the end, I would like to invite you today for site event for Kamalides 2024 in the Sheikh Zayed Auditorium Room. It will be after this session, and this will show you what's the ambition and the goal strategic for Saudi Arabia in Kamalides year 2024. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much. That was also very interesting to hear all the innovations and the technologies that you talk about. I think we're already seeing certain themes emerging, right? Collaboration, innovation, and the fact that we all have to do it together, right? Because if people are not at the table, they can't be part of the solution. And thanks for the shout out for the event later at the Sheikh Zayed. We will remind them again before the end of this session. Next, we have Mr. Jean-Marc Chapuis, who is the Deputy Director General of Head of Markets and International Affairs Directorate from Switzerland.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your invitation and thank you for your question on our priorities for this conference. As you all may know, Switzerland is often associated with chocolate, cheese, beautiful landscapes, watches and banks. 3 out of these 5 typical Swiss symbols are directly related to livestock. These stereotypes highlight the importance of the livestock sector in Switzerland from an economic, social, as well as environmental and cultural point of view. Livestock is also an integral part of food security, sustainable food systems, and healthy diets. This multifunctionality of the livestock sector brings me to our first priority, using a systems approach. The livestock sector is embedded in food systems and fulfills a multitude of functions, contributes to many problems, but also offers various solutions to the multiple challenges our food systems face. Therefore, a systems approach is needed. In particular, one should not disconnect issues of animal genetic resources, sustainable livestock production systems, and animal welfare from looking at consumption patterns, including healthy diets. I hope this week's reflections on policy solutions will happen within a system approach. In Switzerland, our government presented a report on the future orientation of agricultural policy. It aims at supporting a food system transformation from 2030 onwards through a holistic development of our agricultural policy, bringing production and consumption close together. Let me turn to the second priority. Our policy also recognized the need to adapt to local context, including through agroecological approaches. We need to recognize that livestock systems are highly diverse, which implies that solutions for increasing sustainability must be tailored to the local circumstances. This starts with the genetics we use in breeding to questions of contribution of livestock to soil health, landscapes, and biodiversity. Faced with this diversity, agroecology as an approach is a powerful lever of transformation, combining research and action as well as locally adapted innovative approaches. Thirdly, and finally, we need to address the links between livestock, climate change, environment, and the role of consumption patterns that play in these. Let me highlight the following related to greenhouse gas emissions and the need to reduce the climate footprint of the sector. In Switzerland, over 70% of the agricultural land is grassland. We have a very limited space for crop production, and yet we still use 2/3 of our arable land to produce feed instead of food for direct human consumption. Changing this would help reduce emissions. Switzerland's agricultural greenhouse gas emissions could be further reduced if animals would only be fed with grass from natural and non-arable grassland areas and waste from food production. But not only the production side do we see challenges. The consumption side needs to be addressed too. If the Swiss population simply followed the national dietary recommendations with less meat, more dairy products, as well as fruit, pulses, and nuts, negative environmental impacts could be cut by half in the food sector. Let me sum up 3 priorities. First, we need to adapt a systems approach when we look at livestock. Second, we need to adapt animal production to local contexts, including through agroecological approaches. And third, we need to address the link between livestock, climate change, environment, and consumption patterns. Thank you for your attention, and thank you, FAO, for organizing this conference.
Monsieur Chapuis, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup pour les priorités que vous avez entendues de monsieur. Je reste en français en ce moment parce que on va passer en discussion maintenant avec vous et on va faire un effort d'entendre des gouvernements, mais aussi des non-state actors, des ONG par exemple, avec le temps qui permet. Et donc on voudrait commencer avec le Madagascar, Monsieur Lezoma Tsiri, directeur général d'élevage, ministère d'Agriculture et de l'élevage Madagascar. Bien sûr, on est conscient de quelques défis que vous faites face et peut-être que vous pourriez ajouter à cette discussion des priorités qu'on voudrait voir pendant ces 3 jours. Monsieur Thierry.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le directeur général de la FAO, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres.
Ok.
Ça marche aussi?
Pardon, excusez-moi.
Ok. Déjà, en premier, nous vous remercions infiniment d'avoir fait participer Madagascar en cette première conférence mondiale sur la transformation de l'élevage dans une optique de durabilité. À Madagascar, qui est un pays à vocation agricole, le secteur élevage tient un rôle prépondérant sur l'essor du pays, vu que celui-ci prend part aux activités économiques, sociales, culturelles et cultuelles de l'île. En effet, ce secteur participe grandement à la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle de la population et contribue à hauteur de 15% du PIB, qui le place en pole position quand il s'agit de facteurs de développement grâce aux ressources naturelles abondantes pour la production, ces millions d'hectares de terrain encore exploitables, ces microclimats favorables à presque tous les animaux d'élevage, ainsi que sa situation zoosanitaire indemne de grandes maladies contagieuses. Conscient de cette situation, le gouvernement malagasy a ajusté ses stratégies et politiques de développement en mettant en évidence un secteur élevage plus productif, rentable, concurrentiel, mais qui protège les ressources naturelles afin d'en assurer sa durabilité. Dans cette optique, nous orientons dans l'accès à une alimentation animale diversifiée, saine et nutritive, d'une bonne gouvernance du secteur favorisant des moyens de subsistance équitables et résilients, des nouveaux maillages, compartimentation et zonage du service vétérinaire et d'une production résiliente face au changement climatique. Nous intervenons aussi à tous les niveaux de chaîne, comme la production, la transformation et aussi la commercialisation des produits. Compte tenu de tout ce qui précède, il est indiscutable que l'esprit de cette auguste assemblée se coïncide parfaitement à notre vision de développement. De surcroît, elle se présente pour le gouvernement malagasy comme une rampe qui nous lance vers l'atteinte de notre objectif, qui est de promouvoir un secteur productif, résilient, moderne et prospère. En effet, comme tant d'autres, le ministère a déjà commencé et mené plusieurs actions tendant au développement du secteur en coopération avec les différents partenaires techniques et financiers, et nous souhaitons que cette action se poursuive. De ce fait, nous sollicitons singulièrement renouveler la collaboration étroite déjà établie avec la FAO, qui est une plateforme plus riche, plus inclusive et multilatérale, afin de renforcer la continuité des actions déjà entamées. Pour terminer, au nom de notre gouvernement, je suis rassuré de la valeur inestimable de cette réunion de haut niveau, qui revêt d'une importance considérable pour nos pays respectifs et produit des impacts cruciaux en matière de développement agricole dans le monde et pour l'humanité entière. Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Thierry. And just to note to everyone else, we would like to call on as many as we can. The ground rules for this part of the discussion is 2 minutes, and he did it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Félicitations. So we hope, merci beaucoup, and to take on the challenges and to make those changes is quite an accomplishment for Madagascar. Thank you, Monsieur Thierry.
Do we have any more representatives from government who might like to share reflections or make some intervention? If not, I know that we have a lot of international organizations and non-state actors.
Yeah, you got to pick on somebody, right?
Yes.
So who can we do that with?
This is one of the rare occasions. Sir, please.
An ange passe,
From
as they say in
India.
French.
If you could, again, limit it to 2 minutes, we would really
I'll
appreciate
try.
it. I think everybody who's hungry would also really appreciate it. Thank you.
India would like to thank FAO for organizing this important global conference. It's apt that we are organizing this 3 years since the pandemic, and the learnings we have a lot which we can share today amongst all of us. In fact, the pandemic in one way has been an opportunity, as we can build back systems better, and also we can develop systems to withstand the future shocks. India has made tremendous strides in livelihoods, livestock sector. The sector has grown at 8%, contributes 30% to the national GVA. We are the world's largest producer of milk. We also we are third in egg, and we employ around 80 million in our milk sector, and which is mainly driven by women. This has been possible through the robust public policies, R&D support, and investments. The G20 Leaders' Declaration has aptly put the importance and its commitment to accelerate innovation investments in agriculture productivity, reducing food and waste, and the importance of the value chains, and to the importance of sustainable and climate resilient agriculture and food systems. We have focused on institutionalized livestock census, immunization, R&D networks, and now our focus is on enhancing productivity, decreasing the carbon footprint, and also we are committed to enhance the R&D support in the livestock sector. Species diversification is an important area, and so as One Health approach. The One Health approach has been highly emphasized in the recent G20, and we are committed and we are happy to share all our learnings here today, and we can have learnings from the rest of the world. Thank you, FAO, for giving an opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The gentleman from India, thank you. I think at this point, I think we want to take it out to the non-state actors. Are there food producers? Are there farmers? Are there NGOs? Are there private sector that would like to speak at this point from what you heard from these discussions this morning? Is there any feedback? What would you like? What are your priorities for today, these 3 days of discussions? Would anyone like to join in that and add to it? Is there somebody raising? Can you raise your hand? Can you raise your hand if you want to speak? All right. What I might also do is ask here, is there anyone who would like to comment on what you've heard from these, from Madagascar, from India, or from your colleagues at this point? I think it's important at this point to talk about these priorities, what we want to talk about these 3 days on sustainable transformation, and how we're trying to meet those climate goals at the same time that have been set by the Paris Accord. Anybody?
Yeah, because we're setting the scene for the next 5 sessions to come. So I think it's really important that we talk about what we want to see out of these 3 days, so that you go back energized, determined, and ready for the next step.
And that what we've heard is not just environment, it's also socioeconomic considerations as well, business considerations, right? And so in some countries where it's a huge amount of income for the people living there. Yes, we have a comment over here. If you can approach a microphone and identify yourself, please. Can we get a microphone on that? Can we get a speaker on that?
The speaker's not working. Oh, you can hear me now.
I hear you now. Get close to the microphone. Close to the microphone.
Okay. My name is Sadia Musa Ahmed. I'm representing 2 organizations, Pastoral and Environmental Network in the Horn of Africa, and East and Central African Pastoralist Network. I really like to see, and nobody was talking about it, in the water development, because we are not going to have any productionists, or we're not going to succeed anything if we don't have water. In our sector, we are looking for, especially desalination from seawater, because we have an ample water, especially for those countries who have got sea and oceans. We need also to look innovations in terms of actually using that water for production, both in terms of fodder and also agriculture. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more. Yes, Australia.
Nicole, please, from Australia. Minister.
Good morning, everyone. I'm interested in the views from the panel, knowing that livestock sustainability is very complex and involves consumers, governments, non-government organisations, multilateral organisations, major food producers, private companies, food safety. It covers the gamut of all of our responsibilities in government. What do you consider to be the most priority area that we need to focus on in order to get global consensus?
Who would like to take that first? Anyone? Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Switch it on.
Hi. Hello.
Is that on? Or do you want to give him that one? Maybe we switch? Yeah.
No? Hi. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go back to Madagascar and India. Two different cases. It show us how is the gap huge between very advanced country utilizing the livestock and producing, and there is a lot of resources unutilized in those countries. I think the role of government now is to reduce this gap and to work closely to improve the natural resources, to improve the production, and to learn from the advanced country how to make it easier, faster, and profitability as well. Regarding your comment, Your Excellency, I think really it's very important, very crucial. If you look to the sector livestock, you'll find big gap between the what you call the high-level professional, big companies, and local farmers. Farmers, very traditional, and the companies very advanced. The gap is huge. Now, one of our objectives to reduce this gap by improving the livelihood for those farmers, to make the awareness, to advise of the global practice, the best practice, to make a direction for them to grow further, to serve their community, to themselves first, and the community, and the region as well. Once we upgrade the level, we'll find that what you call extra opportunities will happen for employment, for economic, for improving the productivity. All those will come parallel. But I think we start from bottom down and up down, both sides, with regards to for sustainable is very important, and biosecurity. Contamination in this business, in this industry, could what you call eliminate and destroy everything one time. For that, biosecurity is a very crucial what you call point to focus and to build a local system, a strong system, and the collaboration between the neighbor countries is very important because it is shared, either resources or trade, and this could carry the disease and disaster, make the business or the sector disaster. This is my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Shukran, Mr. Musai.
Do any of the other panelists want to respond to Jean-Marc? Would you?
Well, thank you for your question. I understood this morning.
I don't hear it.
Very.
Maybe we use this.
Yeah. It's very faint.
Thank you. I understood this morning there are very diverse situations, and I think we have common problems like greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity, climate change, and food security, and this we have to recognize together. But then there are local answers to different problems. In my country, we have areas where we have too many animals with nitrogen losses problems, and we have other areas where we don't have enough animals, and we have also problems of biodiversity because forest is coming back. So we have to agree on different problems we have to solve, but the solution, they can only be tailored to the local conditions.
Merci, Monsieur Chapuis. I think we, there's another, okay, Ray, please.
Just very quickly, I think if we could get some globally agreed metrics and measures on environmental performance, that would serve us all well rather than a proliferation of development of standards that apply just to particular nations.
Great.
Great.
Thank you, Minister. A big hand to all of our speakers, all up to now, and to you for your questions and your comments, and to the interpreters. Good job. Thank you very much. I think we move on now to our lunch break, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
we also have an exhibition in the atrium of the ground floor showcasing 12 success stories and that's from 13 to 1400 today. And also in the Sheikh Zayed Center.
There is a side event at the Sheikh Zayed Center, like our speakers have said, on the International Year of the Camelids. So please, that will start from 12:45 until 1:45.
And there will also be a launch of an FAO report in collaboration with the Livestock Environmental Assessment and Performance on Methane Emissions. And this will happen in Iran room number B116. And a light lunch will be provided there.
Final point before you leave, excuse me, the next plenary session will start here again at 2 p.m. sharp. Chris will be moderating, so you're in good hands.
Come and join me. See you then. Thank you.
Thank you very much.